Hey, everybody, just a heads up that the episode you're about to watch was recorded before the tragic Palisades fires, and it features Kaia Alexander. She's the CEO and founder of Entertainment Business School. Kaia was born and raised in the Pacific Palisades and was personally affected by the fires. The following is a statement and a request that Kaia asked us to make on her behalf. Okay, so without further ado, this is from Kaia. Okay, I grew up in Pacific Palisades back when it was a little mom and pop town. Nearly everyone I knew lost their homes in the fires. 14 friends and their parents lost their homes, and more to come. 3 generations all at once. It's truly devastating. Thank you, first responders, for working so hard around the clock to help Los Angeles. We must come together as a caring community and extend love and kindness to each other right now. Yes, many celebrities lost their homes, and you will see that on the news coverage first, but it's also working class people that lost everything. People like teachers, grandparents, below the line entertainment workers, kids, housekeepers, and first responders. In other words, the people who keep our whole world together. Not to mention the animals. From Altadena to the Palisades and the Malibu coast, it's up to all of us to take care of each other. Just like we learned as kids on Sesame Street. Together we are LA strong, and our hearts are the blood of California. To make a real difference, go to www.entertainmentcommunity.org/CA fires and donate. Again, that's www.entertainmentcommunity.org/CA fires, and you can donate there. If you want to reach out directly to Kaia, you can do that at www.kaiaalexander.com. That's www.kaiaalexander.com, and you can reach out to her directly. And now, on to the show. Yep. So
I'm
any
trying not to lean on
questions? I
my
know that was a lot of
chair.
information.
See, I told you.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
It's so natural, bro, to lean. Like you
Yeah.
get comfortable and you just start going to the side, So Kikaya's gonna have to lean and then hey, wait, Chris, she's gonna lean and then she's gonna lean back. Lean back.
I was already doing it. I was already on it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Make It Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Barkley.
And I have to throw this out there. Gotta keep it going. I'm Nick Bugs.
That's the one and only Nick Bugs right there, bringing us back to the days of the 90s Bud Light commercials when things were much better in the commercial world.
Exactly.
And with us on this journey is producer Papa Bear and intern Sam. Fellas, say hello.
What's up? Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Hello.
And of course, our esteemed guest, Kaia Alexander, is with us. Kaia, how are you doing?
I'm great. What's up, guys? So happy to be here with you.
Likewise. This is a long time coming. I think that we met each other because I had the courage to DM you on Twitter. X.
That's right. I was so happy that you did. And honored, honestly. Thank you so much for the invite to join you guys on your show. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, I read your profile and I was like, this is interesting. And really, and maybe this is a lesson to people out there that are creating or trying to be thought leaders in their space, like Kaia is. I really read some of your posts is what happened. And I liked some of your takes. I thought some of them had a reasonable amount of controversy in them. And that's the kind of thing I like. I like when you're not just giving us cliches. You're not just placating your audience. You're not just giving us platitudes, but you're saying something that's going to push the boundaries a little bit, but not being obnoxious or a troll or anything like that. And I was like, okay, let me reach out. And the scary thing about that is so many DMs are just not real. And
Yes.
social media just doesn't have an answer to that. I don't care what the platform is.
Yeah, and I think you aged yourself there a little bit, Chris. You just
How?
said that you said that you read.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like you actually read something, you know. And I honestly, it's crazy because as we're trying to deliver content, we're always trying to figure out like, can we do this in a picture? Because everybody just swiping, they're so quick, right? Like, but I do appreciate people like you. I would say like myself. I know intern Sam is like this. Is you actually read, you pay attention, and I think that that's
Sam
important.
reads and writes. He's a double
and he
threat
watches.
guy.
No, he's a triple threat, bro. And he watches, quadruple threat. He listens, man.
Oh my God.
This dude's on something else, man.
Nick, that was very good timing. Do you want to take the rest of the show off?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, thanks. I'm done now.
You're good. You
I'm
did
good.
it. You did it. Congratulations.
Appreciate you.
It's already over. But look, to quote great friend of the podcast, Christian Gregory, son of Dick Gregory, he said, we started with hieroglyphics and now we're back to hieroglyphics.
Yep.
That's
Emojis.
Right. 20% of people can't read. 60% can't read above, I think, a 8th grade level or something lower than that. And you can just write a whole sentence in emojis. And so we started with hieroglyphics. Now we're back to hieroglyphics. So anyhow, she responded. She's here. Before we get into your background, Kaia, and she is Kaia, by the way, before we get into your background, I do just want to, I have to do this. This is just part of being a YouTuber and having a show. If you are watching this or if you are listening to this, please remember to like and subscribe to our channel, the Make It channel. So much is in store. We are already doing our 2025 planning. It's going to be bonkers. So you will not regret that subscription or that like. And if you're on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify, rate and review. It's a huge deal for searchability. Like, so people that need to find this podcast, go out, do that, rate it 5 stars. Now, again, I want you to be your authentic self. If you think we're terrible, rate that. But deeply appreciate the 5 stars.
Just go talk about us behind our back.
Just be fake.
No. Just talk about us behind our back. That's cool. Don't hit that 1 star nonsense.
Oh yeah, don't even do it. Don't rate us 5 star. That's a great idea. That's even right. Nick, you nailed it again. Don't rate us 5 stars. Don't rate us 1 star. Just don't rate us.
Yeah.
If you don't like it,
exactly. Yeah.
Just move on. Anyhow, Kaia, can you properly introduce yourself here and tell us what you're all about? Tell us why we might know you and what you're working on now, what you're excited about.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So I'm really known now as the founder CEO of the Entertainment Business School, which is a worldwide school. It's all virtual. We've got students in 8 different countries now. And I also am the host of the Hollywood Wolfpack podcast. Now, former to that, I was a development exec. So I like to say I speak fluent creative and fluent business, right? So I toggle back and forth between those 2 hats. And as a development exec, I was with a company called Inferno, and we made movies like Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds, Peaceful Warrior with Nick Nolte, Hachi, A Dog's Tale with Richard Gere. And I was with them for a couple of years. And then I had, honestly, the great honor of my life going to work for comedian Garry Shandling. And like so many folks in Garry's space, like, I miss him. I think about him all the time, constantly wondering what his perspective on the world would be today. And in the pandemic, in thinking about Garry and his really beautiful quote, give more, give what you didn't get. I was like, how can I serve filmmakers? How can I help the writers? How can I help the directors? I was seeing mistakes happen and repeating mistakes from different people. And I was like, oh, a lot of these creatives are making the same mistakes. What if I could Robin Hood some of this info and intel from the business exec side over to the creative side so they have more success? I'm also an author and a mom and a surfer. You might get some surfing analogies out of me tonight. I'm big on the waves. I am the author of the award-winning novel Written in the Ashes. I'm a super nerd. I'm autistic, and we have special interests. And one of my primary special interests is Hypatia, who is the first female mathematician scientist in history. She was brutally murdered by Christian extremists in the 5th century. So that book is written in the ashes. And I'm working on a new book now. You asked me what I'm excited about. That's so excited. Because I am
Let's
with
go.
my editor from now 2016. She has moved on from HarperCollins, and now we're working together on what will be probably a business book for both creatives and for entrepreneurs. And I'm excited to unpack everything that I teach and have utilized, especially as a neurodivergent person navigating the world, like relying on, formulas and ideas and solutions that end up just essentially being hacks. How do you make a friend? How do you pitch? How do you build a network? And then what I say ultimately with my students in the schools, how do you find your wolf pack as filmmakers? It's just such a core and key imperative element for success. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. You have
Just
a
a
lot
little bit
going
there.
on.
Yeah, multi-hyphenate, bro. Like that's awesome. I love this.
Written
We
in
got
the
the right
Ashes
person on the podcast, man.
is such a great title, by the way. And I know that you talk about high concept and loving high concept titles that
Yeah, I
sort of
teach it.
explain what you're going to watch. That is pretty high concept. I mean, Written in the Ashes is such a visual title. So kudos on that. You talked
It's
about
not as
being
good as
mentored.
Jaws, but what are you
No,
going to do?
yeah, Jaws is perfect.
Jaws is
That's
still
about
on.
the guy. Yeah, but that's about the guy from the Bond movies, right? That's what that is. See, Sam's like, whatever, Nick. No.
Yeah. So you talked about being mentored yourself by Garry Shandling and others, and that helped you on your journey into the film industry. How did that help you or inform your ability to mentor all your students now?
Oh my gosh. I'm a teacher at heart. I love teaching. Some of the greatest impact others have had in my life were my teachers. I think so fondly all the way back through like my 9th grade history teacher who would show up to school on Monday and go, I'm going to be sick on Thursday because there's a swell. So like he would bail from school to go surf and then come back and tell us
Nice.
crazy stories from history about like, Lenin and Stalin and, figures that I didn't know history was about stories. So, carrying that forward of like my love of teachers, Garry was he was a teacher, and just by breathing his air, I think all of us can say he changed my fabric. Like Kevin Nealon says about him, he changed my fabric. He changed the way I think. He changed what I thought of as like deep character development. He would be like, no, you're up here, we got to go deeper. And he was looking at the human condition, and he was always toggling between the two questions for his characters in his show, like Larry Sanders. What do they love? What's their love? What's their pain? Because if we can go to both extremes with a character, we're going to like see who they really are. There's an amazing scene at the end of that show in 6th season where the character Artie, who's the tough guy, always in the show. And as the show is ending, he goes into the wardrobe closet and like totally breaks down and cries. And like that pain for him of not just the loss of the show and all his friends, but his identity, like that show's a comedy. But Garry was always looking for range, what would now be called dramedy. That wasn't really called that then. So I would listen to he was always reading other writers and his friends and, comedians coming over to the house. And he had a wolf pack. He had basketball games on Saturday, and he would invite all his friends over, and he was always reading them and giving them notes. And honestly, as a guy, he was sending his guy friends flowers, like giant bouquets and congratulations for like a new movie coming out or something. And I think I was even stuck in some gender roles, and like seeing him do that, like with his whole heart, with his love, taught me like I can love more. I can
Mm.
wrap my arms around people bigger and better, like especially the way he took care of all of us, the creatives in his space. He showed me how to be a mentor and how to really care. There's a story about him, kind of, I'll tell you that
Oh, I
I
love
was
that.
we
Yeah.
were working so hard, and we were working on his DVD set at the time, which was not just the best of the Larry Sanders Show. And it was like, you know, a lot of like looking at his photos and looking at the clips, and he was running around interviewing his friends, and it was a really late night. And then we ended up watching The Tonight Show. It was just he and I in the office by that time, and he'd never seen the comic before. Forgive me, I don't remember who it was, but he had never seen the comic before, and we just really thought the guy killed it. And he goes, "I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go call him." And I was like, I thought you said I didn't know this kid, you know? And he's like, "Well, they always book the comics at the same hotel." He's like, "I'm just going to go to call him, tell him that he did a great job and that he really killed it." And he left, and he came back, you know, 10 minutes later, and he reached the comic and he said, "Kaia, you got to understand, the loneliest moment of a comedian's life is going from delivering a set to 25 million people and then going into your cold, lonely hotel room in the silence by yourself." And he's like, "I know I can warm up that moment with a phone call to just say, 'It's Garry Shandling. You killed it. I saw your set. I think you're onto some great things." And he's like, you know, that makes somebody's life. And he wanted to be that guy who could really, you know, support someone new coming up. He loved young people in his space, breathing that air. So yeah, a lot of my like now identity is like, I want to be like Garry. Honestly, you know,
Yeah.
and you'll see Judd say that too. Like, you know, in his wonderful show, The Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling, like Garry was spiritual, he was meditating, he was searching, he was really a searcher, a seeker for those answers that he was bringing us through his exploration of those incredible characters on screen.
He's just
What
a
a
good
great
human.
story.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's the part of it. I think that he imparted in you, other than the training, the knowledge, and all that, which is excellent as a mentor. And that's, I think, what most people look for, is the person who can pass on the knowledge. But there's something else that Garry obviously passed on, and I think Chris and I likely live in the same area, where it's like, yes, there is that knowledge, there's the intellect, there's the experience, there's all the facts, the figures, but just being a good human. Now that right there, when you couple it with all those things, really
Yeah.
makes you the kind of mentor that I think everybody needs, regardless. So I love that for him, that he gave that to you. I love that for you. And I love that for all of the people that you mentor, because they're not just gonna learn, but they're gonna feel. Like, that's what's so amazing about it. So I love it. That's a beautiful story.
I heard someone say at a coffee shop today, and it was a young lady. She was talking to someone, and she said, "I wish I could be a bad person." And I didn't hear the rest of it. And I thought to myself, that comment almost for sure means you're a bad person already. If you say that,
Like a
then
narcissist alert. Narcissist alert. Here it comes.
yeah, like I wish I could be a bad person because then I would do this. Well, you're already thinking about doing that.
No, but
There's
listen, Chris, I'll tell you
that's
where
what
that
it
comes
is.
from. I'll tell you where that
Okay.
comes from.
Okay.
Where it comes from is she's actually a good person.
Mhm.
And what she's seeing, her viewpoint,
Mhm.
is that bad people are succeeding. And she's like, if that is what it takes to be successful, I wish I could be it. But I can't be it. So this is where I'm going to be in my life.
I think
And
the
that's very
context was
sad
that
to me.
someone had wronged her. I think that was the context. I don't think it was.
Well, that's a
don't
different
think-
context
I don't think it was your.
altogether.
I don't think it was
And
your
then,
context.
and
It
now
wasn't-
she
it
wants
wasn't-
revenge.
The
But
bad
now
people weren't. Yeah.
well, then now she wants
succeeding.
revenge, and she's like, I can't do it. I can't, you
Right,
know, go
right. She's
drop a
saying
turd, a
But
burning
she
turd on this guy's
is. But she
doorstep.
is thinking about filling up a
Oh,
brown paper
aren't
bag
we
full
all
of
at
poop
some point, man?
and setting it
Aren't
on
we
fire.
all? Aren't we all? And I think
I
what
don't
happened.
think we all are.
No, we all are. And what happened is that, just so you know, Kaia is her mentor, so she can't do
Oh,
it.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Can't do
want
it.
to know
Shoot.
her. I want to know her footwear and her handbag, and then we're gonna judge her right now.
Yeah, she had extremely long, perfectly straight brown hair, and it went all the way down her back, almost to her butt, and it was perfectly straight all the way down. And I'm gonna guess that she was, because of the place I was at, I'm going to guess that she was a religious person. So this was just interesting just to hear your feedback, Kai, and then I just thought about that. I was like, huh. It's like,
and Kaia, Chris was at church.
I wasn't. It was a coffee shop, but this coffee shop might as well have been church. Have you ever been to a coffee shop where everyone there is one thing?
Oh, well, I grew
Have
up
you
in
guys
LA,
experienced
so
this?
yes, yeah.
They're all actors. All
There's
right.
been-
Sorry, I didn't.
yeah,
say-
they're all
Everybody's typing, you know,
writers.
they're all working on a screenplay, you know. Yeah.
Exactly. So you know exactly what I'm saying. So you walk into a coffee shop and everyone's, I don't know, Christians, let's say. I've been in that situation. You walk into a coffee shop and everyone's a communist. Like literally everyone is a communist. Like they're dressed in commie garb. And I'm like, okay, everyone in here is a communist. Okay. And now I know the
Sam's
vibe.
like, no, because I never walk into those places.
Like you have to have, I guess you have to have an eye for it. And I like to think I'm pretty good at thin slicing, but that's what I noticed. So this place wasn't a church. It could have been. And I heard that, but I thought about that because there is this sentiment of the saying that you're good while doing something not good. So the appearance of looking a certain way while doing the opposite in real life. And we have that all the time happening all around us in society, on the internet, etc. The virtue signaling, everything that happens within our society where it's important to foist forward the appearance of a thing. Whereas I watched that documentary, the Judd Apatow documentary you talked about. It seems to me, and I was so happy to hear that your story about him matched what everyone's sentiment is about him, which is that he wasn't just the appearance of someone doing good in the world. He really was that way.
He was also really reclusive, so he wasn't out there, broadcasting any of this. He was a really reclusive guy. So I think that he touched people individually in a friendship way, in a close way with all of us who he was, supporting. And that's not like for the masses. That's for the few. That's the wolf pack. That's the few you've got around you, whose lives you can really touch.
I think that's exactly what I'm saying. I think you condensed that perfectly.
I dig it.
It becomes performative if you have to shout it from a megaphone all the time.
Right.
And he wasn't doing that. Now, you've mentioned the wolf pack a few times. So I think me and Nick sort of, and Papa Bear and Sam get the gist of this. But just for the audience, can you break down the wolf pack? Why wolves also, instead of, dolphins or whales? And what can we, because they also sort of pack up. What can we learn from this? Break down the wolf pack for us. Yeah.
So in the pandemic, I was reading the Rudyard Kipling book, The Jungle Book, with my son. And he was in third grade at the time, so it was his reading level. And there's this beautiful quote from that book early on where he says, "For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." Mm-hmm. And it just stayed with me. And as I was doing a lot of listening, a lot of open Zooms in the pandemic, talking to filmmakers. And I started to see, they're all like lone wolfing. And the ones who are starving and struggling are lone wolfing. They don't have the person they can call, when things are going wrong, as they often do in our business. Who do I trust? And whether that person is a manager, or your attorney is someone on your professional team, and it might be, but it also could be like, your best friend from third grade who you're still buddies with, who's still gonna answer your call. It might be your mom, or as your kids grow up, it may be your kids who you're passing that torch to, who are with you in your wolf pack. And that element in our business in Hollywood, it's the only thing that's going to keep you sane. It's your gut check. Also, I do not have a good gut, whether it was, upbringing or whatever else. I need my wolf pack to be like, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Am I getting it wrong? Like, I need that relationship in play so that I can make better decisions, because one bad decision in this business can kill your career, can derail your career for a while. So staying in tune with your mission, your purpose, your why, why is this important? Why this movie? Why this show? Why am I doing this? And making sure you're surrounded by those positive voices who are also going to call you on your bullshit and be like, yeah, you're off it right now. You come on back. I think that's really important. The people who are keeping it real around us, who are helping us navigate the ins and outs. It's a hall of mirrors also, Hollywood. So there's a lot of, yes people. There's a lot of trends. It's like, oh, let's follow the trend. And no one's willing to say, that's a shitty trend. We shouldn't follow that trend, because they don't want to offend someone higher up who could hire them or work with them, or agent manager or whatever, et cetera. So I found with Garry that he hired me and he wanted me in his office because I tell the truth. Because I don't sugarcoat it. It's an autism thing. It's like, well, I think this. And he's like, well, what do you really think? So that made me valuable, because that's kind of rare in our business. So I saw Garry, and, I was young, so I'm in my 20s, and I'm seeing him in the basketball games and the bonding. And this is a very still male dominated business. I was one of the only female development execs that I ever met while I was an exec, and certainly maybe the only queer person that I ever met. So navigating those spaces as being, an only or a first, which I know you guys know about too, puts a pressure on this level of representation. Like, I now have to represent my people in this room. And it's it can be chaotic and weird and difficult. So I feel like that wolf pack is it's all about trust and making sure that you exit people that behave untrustworthy. I mean, I'm very loyal. I'm big on loyalty, but if you see behavior from someone that is close to you that is looking like betrayal, you need to see it also for what it is, and make sure you have true voices of people around you saying, yeah, that was up. You should not let that slide. This needs to be addressed. And then you're going to be able to next people faster, so that you actually build your wolf pack, grow your wolf pack, find your wolf pack. You see the Oscar stages, y'all. You see the Emmy stages. They're up there. And it's like, you win Best Picture. How many people fit on that stage? It's 40 people. And, Christopher Nolan won, right, for Oppenheimer. And he's up there, and his wife is his producer. He's worked with the same cinematographer repeatedly. How many times has he hired Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr.? And you're going, oh, this is his wolf pack. These are the people he trusts to bring his vision to life, who are keeping him on this path that ended up and resulting in an Oscar win. So I see success happen when filmmakers are surrounded by a wolf pack. As an exec, it was always, more compelling also when it was a group of filmmakers coming in to pitch us. And you're like, oh, producer, director, maybe the writer. We got 5 people in front of us, and they're pitching their vision for this movie. And these 5 people have come together saying, I believe in this. And that becomes more undeniable, is this group has come together to say, yes, we've got to do this. And then if you get to that level of success where, whether that's streaming or box office or however you're measuring the eyeball numbers, right? Then you have a trusted team, and you want to rinse and repeat. You want to do it again. How many times has, Steven Spielberg worked with his composer? So you're going, oh, I need to send you the bounce pass. Who's catching it? That's your wolf pack.
Hey, Chris, I gotta bring something back to you real quick.
I know what you're going to
for
say.
Kaia.
If you say it, I'm going to fall out of my chair.
But you don't know what I'm going to say because this is totally, me, I go left field. So one of the things that I was going to say was that based off of what you said earlier, Chris, I realized that Kaia totally missed out on an opportunity here because you mentioned dolphins, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, Kaia, you totally could have been the Hollywood pod.
That's right.
I think she made the right choice, Nick.
Oh, they're like kind of my spirit animals. I love it when I see them out there on the break because dolphins means no sharks, and we like that as surfers. We're like, oh, dolphins.
See?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that. That's very true. You know what I thought you were going to say, Nick? I thought you were going to say.
What do you think I was going to say?
So one thing that me and Nick have repeated over the years in this podcast is the value system and the principle of no mercenaries. And that's essentially what you're saying with wolf packing, at least part of it. It's like, have your people, and we believe in it so deeply. So maybe breaking news here or whatever, but we're starting a film development company that's really based on that principle of working with the same people over and over and over again. And some of these filmmakers we've worked with for the last decade, we just want to keep working with them because we know we can execute really well. We have a shorthand with each other. We're super efficient, right? We can do company moves really fast. We know what kind of shots we want, stories to tell. So I think there's so much value in that. Also, just like
Chris,
to add,
I got a CC in there, man. I got a CC in there. Should I drop it? It's just new. Just hit me.
Yeah,
if I can drop a CC on you, is that okay?
Yeah,
of course. I
CC
mean, that's what we
Winans?
do. No.
Culture check. Oh.
He didn't know it was coming. Even Sam, I think he pissed himself just a little bit.
Yeah, he did. He did. You gave Papa Bear a heart attack.
Yeah, I know, right? He came back real quick. Guys, look, listen. I hadn't planned on it. There was no culture check tonight.
Yeah,
that wasn't going to happen.
This is a curveball.
This is new. This is out of left field because what we do.
This is Justin
Verlander.
Verlander.
Exactly. So I had to drop this because you just mentioned the wolf pack. We mentioned no mercenaries, and it brought something to my head because also Kaia mentioned this idea of being the first in the room or representation. And I was thinking to myself, the wolf pack and no mercenaries seems to fly in the face of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the culture check for me is the folks who believe that there aren't opportunities for diverse voices may not fully understand this business. Okay. There is a portion of this business that might be exclusionary for the purposes of being exclusionary. They might actually be trying to subvert certain voices. But this is also an artistic and highly collaborative business.
That's right.
You want to collaborate with people that you trust, people that you've worked with, have had experience with. You want people in your inner circle that are not mercenaries, right? That's what you want. So it's not necessarily that they're keeping people out. It's just that the people that they grew up around, the people that they've worked with, the people with whom they formulated relationships with, those are the people that they want to have around them. So again, not keeping people out, but making sure that the people closest to them are the people that they love, respect, and want to collaborate with.
Nick, I love that. I love that. You can't hold a battering ram by yourself.
There you go.
That's another thing we got to write down.
Yeah, I'm writing it down right now.
Write that down, please. And so my additional feedback.
Take notes.
That's right.
So we sound like Van Wilder's dad now. Write that down. Sam, that was for you. So a couple more pieces of feedback on that, Kaia, because you said a lot there. The reason why this is so difficult to find your wolf pack, there's two really big reasons. There's more reasons, but there's two big reasons that stand out to me, especially if you're a writer. Most great creativity happens in solitude. And if you're a writer, your ability to train yourself to work alone is instrumental to your success as a writer. So how do you find a wolf pack easily if you thrive in solitude, actually? You're not just
Yeah,
doing it. You're not
you
just
gotta cultivate diplomatic relations. I mean, everybody in this
yeah.
business is a diplomat. You just are, you know. So I was surprised. It was a paradigm shift for me, Chris. Being in Gary's office, Gary almost never wrote alone. And like after my first couple weeks
Wow.
of being there, I was like, Garry, there's like another writer at the gate. You know, like,
Yeah.
and it was just, you
Yeah.
know, he was constantly working on jokes. And I mean, obviously that's a comedy thing, but that he didn't really work alone. Cause like, how do you know if it's funny if nobody's laughing and you're, you know, trying out material and you need to know?
That's
So
interesting.
there's that example, right, from comedy, but there's also exactly what you did, Chris, which is you get brave and you hop in somebody's DMs. I don't care if it's on Twitter or X or LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever. Like, you're like, hey, I see what you're doing and it's awesome. Let's have a 15-minute virtual coffee. I want to get to know you better. You know, let's talk. A lot of folks in this industry are willing to do the 15-minute coffee, even higher ups than you, because they don't want to miss out on like the opportunity that came by that then goes on to win an Emmy that they weren't part of. So for the most part, you're thinking like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to get to know new people too. And I always think that way. I have a lot of virtual coffees. I met my chief of biz dev in my company, Kawan Glover, because he also DM'd me on Twitter and was like, you know, you're full of excellence. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love
Shout out to
learn from
Kawan
you.
Glover.
Shout out to Kawan. He's amazing. I love Kawan. So yeah, the being brave is a huge part of it. Yes. Okay. So I'm introverted too. I'm kind of an ambivert. I have had to learn how to do this stuff. And
Excuse me. What is an ambivert?
Ambivert, because she
What is
can
an
be
what is an
introverted
what is
and
an
she can be
ambivert?
extroverted at the same time.
Is that like being ambidextrous?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
She's
Got it.
yeah. She's not
Okay.
like Zoolander, right?
Yep.
He can only
Mhm.
turn left.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Oh my God, taking me back. Taking me back.
So it kind of
Yeah.
flops.
So you just really,
So it's based on the day you wake up, you kind of feel what the energy around you, basically.
sometimes it's just I'm terrified to make that call, and I just force myself to do it anyway. I think when my feet are moving, I think best. So if I pick up the phone, I go for a walk, I will just roll calls because my feet are moving, and I'm like, this is the 15 minutes where I'm walking, where I call people even if I'm scared. And that's just the case. Sometimes you're intimidated to call people, even people who have said, oh, follow up with me and, you know, call me. I have to drill into my writers and all my filmmakers in the entertainment business school who come to study with me. It's okay to follow up repeatedly. In fact, everybody in this industry admires it, and you have to command respect. Nick, to piggyback on what you were saying, you know, you got to bust down that door. Nobody's going to open it for you. So we all have the reason why the door won't open for us. But the reality is, if you haven't figured out the might of force that busts down the door, you just haven't figured it out yet. I mean, my favorite example for that is Taika Waititi. I mean, here's this indigenous guy from New Zealand. Like, and what does he do? He lights it on fire with the wildebeest, the wilder people movie. Searching for finding the wilder people. So his first movie that he comes out with, we're all like, what? Who is this guy? And like, you know, he's center stage. He's commanding it. He's a showrunner now. He's got multiple stuff on the air. And he's like our go-to indigenous creator now. You know, I loved Reservation Dogs. I'm really excited to see the new show that he just dropped on Hulu a couple of days ago. And like, nobody was out there going, gosh, we need to give a New Zealand indigenous person an opportunity. Like, that wasn't happening. He was like, I'm talented, I'm on fire, and I'm busting the door down. And Hollywood kind of responds to that energy by going, oh, respect. Like, we'll make a little space for you here because you're undeniable. So there's a certain amount of like energy and power you have to learn how to command. It's just easier to do when you have that wolf pack with others. You know, my son loves this K1 racing where you get it in the cars. Do you guys have the K1 racing, like where the go-karts, they what do they go, 25 miles an hour or something, right? He loves this. And when I put my foot on the gas, I feel like I am going so fast. And these little 9-year-olds are like lapping me. And I'm going, oh my, what am I doing wrong? You know, even my son is like blowing past me. And I think of that sometimes with like, you might think your foot is on the gas and you're like, yeah, I'm giving it everything. But you are going to get lapped by the person who, like, you know, knows the inside, is reading the trades, knows the shape of the business, you know, is learning who's in what power positions at what companies, because you're always working on your positioning. That's part of your power and your force. And if you box or you surf, you have to learn how that alignment really carries through to land, you know, your intention. And that's a huge piece of success in this business, is you have to also kind of comp yourself to others. Like, where do I measure up and what's going to get me where I want to go, so that I become that force of nature that execs like meet me, pick up the phone and go, oh, you got to meet this kid. Like, this one's going places. Like, that's the phone calls that you want happening the second you leave any room. I don't care if it's a Zoom room or it's an actual in-person meeting. The industry is very decentralized now. From anywhere in the world, you can be having these Zooms, but you want to land it so well that those phone calls happen for you after. Because oftentimes those execs, and I can say this certainly from my experience, the next person that they have to pitch is their boss. So you just did the best pitch of your life. Now I got to take your pitch and go to lunch with Billy. And I got to explain to Billy why we should make this movie. And you might have to come back in and pitch Billy. That could happen too. But like, you have to arm me with not just the story, and all that is so important, but also the passion, the drive, and the conviction that, oh my God, this is the project, this is the person, this is the team, because I'm going to carry your conviction through to my next meeting. And that's how you build a reputation in this industry. And that's how you do it fast. Because a lot of, you know, the best reputations can be built fast in this way. You know, this industry is always looking for rising stars.
Nick, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, it's a Thanos effect, man. Like, I know, like, see, Chris doesn't watch Marvel stuff, but I'm just
I know
thinking,
Thanos.
yes,
that's my one movie that I love.
Exactly, but it's what it
one.
is he has the simple line, right? So basically, I am inevitable, and that's the key. He there's no stopping him because he's inevitable, and it's not just a thing that he says. It's a belief. It's a core belief. And that is what enables him to do all the things that he does. He's like, I'm not, he looked at Hulk. Hulk is a big dude that whoops everybody. And he was like, no, I'm inevitable. I'm about to do my thing. Right? He was watching the Jackie Chan movies just like I was, because he Jackie Chan the crap out of the Hulk and he whooped his ass. So he was like, nah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be inevitable. It will show in everything that I am and everything that I do. So I guess that's what filmmakers need to do. They need to snap their fingers and be Thanos, get the Thanos effect and command a room.
That's right. The Thanos effect. I mean, whatever you got to do to get yourself in that space. I have to dance. I have to find it physically. I got to put on that song that moves me so I feel it in my blood and in my bones. I can't think my way there. So many of us, like writer type people, intellectuals, are trying to think our way there. You will get passed on all day, every day by execs who, if you're coming at it from your head, you got to bring your full passionate self to the table and, you know, be alive. So whatever brings you alive, that then it becomes that vehicle to tell your story, and a story well told and well pitched with that passion. I'll tell you, we never funded a movie that didn't have a passionate pitch.
Yep. You're really investing in the founder.
We funded a few first-time filmmakers too.
Right. And I just heard the FX executive talk about this, where he's really not trying to hire internally or from the client base, but more from just, he's looking for people who are going to knock his socks off. That's how he found The Bear. That's how he found Shogun. It was like, where are these people? And he was saying he has no idea. There's no formula to it. It's just, they come out of nowhere. Just listen to the pitches, be open to it. Don't be caught up in your process. I think we should go to some polls here with intern Sam, but I did promise the audience that I had two things. The second quick thing is just that if you're Steven Spielberg, it's hard to find another one of you. somewhere, right? There's not two Steven Spielbergs walking around. And so I think sometimes you block yourself from finding your wolf pack because you're looking for people that are on the same taste level as you. And that can be really, really difficult. But again, that's why Kaia has her school, and that's why you should enroll. Sam, can you hit us with some audience polls?
Yes, I can. And I have two. I have 2 polls. One is more fun. The other is more serious. So,
Okay.
Kaia, which would you like to start with?
Is that to imply that the serious one's not fun?
Oh, no, we can have fun with it, but it's, it's a little bit less directly fun. That's how I should put
All
it.
right.
Okay.
Well, let's go serious and then go and take it up and go fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So, seeing as you have and run an entertainment business school, this poll is in line with that. Is film school worth it? So I'm actually committed to Belmont University as a film student in the fall. So this one hits home for me. Thank you. I appreciate it, Nick. I appreciate it. So looking at the audience response here, it's actually pretty interesting. It falls in line, I think, with what we kind of expect from our audience, but 86% voted yes, with only 14% at no.
Wow. Is that surprising to anyone?
It's not surprising to me because like Sam said, he said our audience.
Yeah.
Our audience is here for it. Like we try to entertain, of course. Yeah. We like to have a good time, but we're edutainment forward, right? That's what it's about. Like you got to be educated. That's why otherwise you don't want to be hanging out here. You get too much knowledge. You might get yourself hurt. So I think that's it. I think Sam's like, no, our audience is down for an education. So
I think so.
He's not surprised.
I definitely think so. I think that especially given kind of the large amount of aspiring filmmakers that are tuned in here, I think that knowledge and that, being able to learn from other students and other people, it really is something that our podcast definitely reflects. And I think that, people in film school just come to that. So like you said, just point blank, I think that our audience is full of people that would definitely be open to the idea of film school.
But Kai, have you found that to be your experience?
Here's what I tell.
Or the creatives you guys are you're finding everywhere?
I mean, here's what I tell my students. You want to arm yourself with every possible advantage you can give yourself. So if you can go to film school, great. Especially if you get into one of the top 5, it's really going to help you, right? Less so if it's a lesser known film school, but obviously if it's USC or UCLA or NYU Tisch, that's a significant advantage. Oh God, the Ivies. I mean, a number of Ivy showrunners I've interviewed on my podcast, and the execs are going to throw open the door. If you went to Harvard, you're like, I'm a Harvard grad, I'm a showrunner. You're like, okay, well, we might want to hire the staff writer who went to Harvard. So yeah, okay. I mean, this industry will bend over for that, but also this industry wants you to have lived life. So if you've had anything from like, I have a student who has been in the intelligence community who's retiring. You go from a storied career in the CIA for 20 years and want to come tell your stories in Hollywood. Like, we need you. We can't just dream those up on our own, completely isolated in writers' rooms. Like, we need actual field experts to come in. That's why Star Trek hires physicists to consult on their show. It's like, we need those stories and energy. So, you got to follow your heart and your passion and your drive. In film school, you are going to have the advantage of finding others who care about what you care about, who share your taste. You can grow your wolf pack. Classically, your first early wolf pack was Spielberg and George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola. They met in film school. They're at USC. They're become buddies, and they come up together, and they're constantly picking up the phone and calling each other as they're growing their projects. And If you haven't read Mike Medavoy's book, You're Only as Good as Your Next One, that is a great primer on the history of the film business and how they came up together, because you don't often think of those guys as pals, but they're like best friends. So you could be, the George Lucas to the Steven Spielberg of like picking up the phone going, here's what's going wrong on my set, what do you think? And you need those people that you can call who speak your language. As you go to film school, you're going to learn that language, you're going to get to trial the different roles. You might discover, oh man, I thought I would love directing, but it turns out I really love script supervising, I'm going that way. And then you can find your place.
I think that's great. And for me, my regret of not going to film school yet is just the confidence it gives you in terms of, at the very least, all the lingo. At the very least, what every person's job is if you went to a good school and you paid attention. Now you're going to know that, you're going to learn that from set, but you have to learn that. And again, as Kaia put it earlier and mentioned earlier, you have to have the courage to ask those questions once you're on set without being in someone's way and without slowing them down. It's so, from my perspective, I would say I got to do that because I was in charge of the set, right? It was my set. So then no one can tell you no. But if that's not your situation, then it's going to be harder. And so film school really, really, really comes in handy. Sam, give us the fun poll.
Okay. So for the fun poll, so Kaia, we know how much you enjoy surfing. So I thought, what would be, the most fun way to incorporate this? What is the best surfing movie? So
right, what are our options, man?
Number one was. It's gonna be interesting because this is just 4. I only had 4 options here, so you may know some that I don't even know. But
right, that's true.
Number 1 was Point Break with 47%. Mm-hmm. Number 2 was The Shallows with 26%.
Ooh.
Number 3, Surf's Up, 23%, and number 4, The Endless Summer with 4%.
Kaia, what do you think? Which movie got surfing the most right?
I'm sorry, but Blue Crush wasn't in the polls.
See,
there we go. I knew there was gonna be one that I didn't know about.
Blue Crush.
I love Blue Crush.
Who's in Blue Crush, Kaia?
Oh my God, it was early. Beautiful white girl whose name I can't remember right now because I'm super perimenopause. So.
Is this no, I know who it is.
She one of the Kates. She might be one of the
Kate
Kates.
Bosworth.
Yeah.
Bosworth! I knew it was a Kate. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Young, early Kate Bosworth. And she really trained up for it. She worked really hard and did the underwater, you hold your breath and run with the rock underwater. And she did all that really hard, crazy breath hold training.
Was Jessica Alba also in it, Kaia?
Michelle Rodriguez was in it.
Michelle Rodriguez. Okay.
Plays her pal, her buddy. It's a beautiful little love story filmed on North Shore, Oahu. I love all the surf movies. I am working on the adaptation of the movies or of the book Swell, the memoir of Captain Liz Clark, who is a beautiful young captain who very young decided, I want to sail around the world. And she had not really sailed much on her own. And she built a sailboat herself in Santa Barbara and took off on an adventure to find true love and empty surf breaks because our surf breaks are getting pretty crowded in California. So she went on her epic sailing journey to go around the Pacific. It's an epic story, and we don't really see that many women on the water. But I have to give a shout out to World Surf League, who was the first international sports league to pay their female athletes equal to their male athletes.
Wow.
They did this. They did it first. So there's a lot of love. Caitlin Simmers won the World Cup this year. She's 17 years old. She's one to watch. And it's exciting to see the evolution of the sport, and especially on screen, because I feel like we could see these rad, I like to say my brand is adventurous, badass, adventurous women. I love badass, adventurous women. And I love it, especially when they're actually true stories. Because mostly when I ask other friends in the industry or execs, I'm like, who do you think of when you think of badass, adventurous woman? And everybody says, who do you guys say? Because everybody usually says the same one.
I'm like Lara Croft.
That's what
I
I
don't
was
know.
thinking. I was
See,
thinking
Sam?
Barbara off. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what else? What else?
I don't know.
Joan of
Most people
Arc.
say Joan of Arc. Exactly.
Yeah, Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc's there.
Am I aging
Come
myself? I
on,
mean, that's
Chris,
pretty
give
bad.
us that.
Xena. Was that her name? Was it the
Xena.
Viking woman?
Red
Xena?
Sonja.
Red Sonja. Yeah.
Red
Red
Sonja.
Sonja.
Come on now. Let's go. See, we're all over the place, Kaia. Who does everybody else say? Because we're not like everybody else.
You are not
Because
like
I can think of
everybody
athletic
else.
women, but you can't conflate athletic women with adventurous women. That's the problem.
Maybe you can.
You could say
I
Ripley.
think sometimes adventurous is, just having the courage to confront whatever you're up against. But most people say Wonder Woman. And I'm always
Wonder
pointing
Woman.
out that most of the women that people
sister's
pick
favorite.
are fictional. Except for Joan of Arc, everybody you picked was fictional. And so it's part of my goal in film and television to be like, hey, let's actually look to some of the badass adventurous women in our daily lives who are doing incredible things, who are living amazing stories. Who are those role models for the young girls coming up? I didn't have those role
Michelle
models.
Obama.
I wanted, Michelle Obama.
That's a good one.
Blake
Such a
Lively.
No, she can't be up there with Michelle Obama.
I do these things for Sam's reaction.
Shout out to
Like, nah,
shout out to
bro.
Blake Lively. She's very,
Yeah.
very fun, very beautiful, very cool person. Not Michelle Obama though. She's not like Michelle Obama. They're different. They're different. Different category.
Yes,
Right, Kai?
indeed.
I mean, come on. But it is funny that it's difficult to find, like off the top of your head, like you do tend to just go to the fictional women first for whatever reason. Now that being said, we might have just went to fictional men too.
Exactly.
Like,
that would have been
like
Indiana Jones, bro.
if you tell me
Okay,
adventurous man,
yeah.
I think Indiana Jones and I think James Bond, like right away, and then I think Jason Bourne.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I know
I
Matt
mean, are they
Damon's not
really
like
out
that
for
in real life.
adventure? Nah, man.
Adventure
No,
kind of
no.
happens to them. Indiana Jones is going on the adventure, and I think 007 is assigned the adventure. Now, Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, he signs up for the adventure.
That's what I was
But
thinking.
in real life, though, because he's legit. It's not just
He's legit. He's legit.
He's both.
yes,
His character
exactly.
and him as a person.
Yes, exactly. You got it. You
Yeah,
got it.
he
So
jumped
Tom
upon
Cruise.
Oprah's couch.
Okay.
Man. He wanted to let you know. He wanted to let you know. Like, 2-footed jump on the couch
Yep.
on national
Tom
TV.
Cruise. He's
He's
won
down
it
for an
me.
adventure.
Thank you for that.
But
Yeah.
yes, well, who do you say, Kaia? Who's your female adventurer of like all time?
Oh man. I mean, of course I love Hypatia, who was the first female mathematician scientist in history. And she was just facing down the religious extremists of her era and defending a whole library with her body, with her soul, with everything in her. So I love Hypatia. I love the Trung sisters, who are extremely well known in Vietnam, who are two women who led the battle against China. They both died in battle, and they're, phenomenal story that we really don't know here in the US unless you are Vietnamese, but they're, uber famous in Vietnam. So looking at, some of these global leaders, I love the story of Mary Kingsley, who is a young English woman going, I don't want to get married and be stuck in a corset. I'm going to Africa and I want to study plants. And she got on a ship and went to Africa in the 1800s and started, going up the rivers.
Which
and
always
about the
sounds like a
plants.
good idea until you actually do it. And you're like, oh, I'm in the middle of the ocean. This was a really bad idea.
No, bro, if you're on a ship in the 1800s, you could die of 17 different types of area, like diphtheria, listeria, right? Like
all of them.
No.
Oh, I got one, Kaia.
I have a friend named Kinga Phillips, so you guys should all follow Kinga. Kinga Phillips is a member of the Explorers Club today. Kinga's phenomenal. She's been to every possible country. She's had a couple shows on the air as a travel host, but she is a badass, adventurous woman. She is going places no one else has gone. She has gone looking for missing persons in the Amazon and Brazil, trying to track down missing persons in the wilderness. And, that is an example of someone who I super admire in my own life. And the Explorers Club is primarily men. So she's one of the few women in that club. And, hey, let's go make a movie about Kinga, because there are so many little 10-year-old girls who are like, I don't know who I could be when I grow up, and they put on a Wonder Woman cape or something because they're trying to figure that out. And we need those leadership examples of your Michelle Obamas, who has walked this path before me, who I could admire. emulate.
Do you spell her name Kinga? Just like it
Yeah.
sounds?
Uh-huh. Yeah, Kinga
Okay, I'm
Phillips.
gonna
I
look
think
her up.
she's two P's at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Philipps.
Kinga Phillips, look her up. One I thought of, Nick, was Harriet Tubman. That's an adventure.
Yes.
Now that's an adventure. Stakes are
Yeah,
high, world's
Yes.
I
against
can
you.
imagine. Yeah, I can
You're a
imagine.
woman leading men to freedom. Come
Yep.
on now.
Man, so come on now, let's preach it,
Come
right?
Harriet
Yes,
Tubman.
sir.
Let's go.
Yes, or yes. Yes, or
Sam,
yes, Harriet Tubman.
thank you again for your polls.
Of course.
They're quite nice. And Nick, let's pay some bills.
Let's do that.
Let's pay some
Let's
bills.
pay some bills. Let's do it. Hey, what's up, folks? This is kind of a special little, not an episode, but a little snippet for you guys. I wanted to do a special shout out and promotion for a former guest of the podcast, Chris Haley. He joined us in 2023 for a special Juneteenth episode. I think that was actually episode 278. You should check it out. Make a podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I don't think we have that episode up on YouTube just yet, but please do check it out. If you didn't know, if you didn't listen to the episode, Chris Haley is the nephew of the world-renowned author of Roots, Alex Haley. And Chris is actually, and Chris, I'm going to say Chris, don't think of Chris Barkley, co-host of the Make It podcast, still talking about Chris Haley. He's the research director of the Legacy of Slavery in Maryland. And he's also the co-director of the film Unmarked, about the neglected African-American burial sites in the American South. That film is now playing on Apple TV and Amazon Prime Video. But today, I'm giving him a special shout out because we're recognizing a new achievement in Chris's career. He's got a new book of poetry out. If you didn't know, he's also an author. He's got several other books out as well. But his new book of poetry is entitled When Did I Know I Was Black? And it is now available on Amazon. In a second, I'm going to step aside and let him go ahead and recite one of the poems by his selection himself. But I'd like to give just a little bit of kind of personal context to this book, When Did I Know I Was Black? And also to the poem that he's gonna read. Now, the poem that he's going to recite has nothing to do with my personal experience, but I feel like there's that connection, which is why it's kind of exciting to talk about this from the perspective of me and the Make It podcast. So it's kind of funny thinking about this idea of when did I know I was Black? Because I often refer to myself as just African American, right? Even though, yeah, people are going to say, well, yeah, you're Black, you're a Black guy. Yeah, true in kind of that social context sense. But my race is African American. And this idea of knowing when you're Black or realizing you're Black, I think for me, that really reminds me of like when I was in middle school and a bunch of my friends and my white friends would say to me, it's like, Nick, you don't act Black. I'm like, well, what does that even mean? And they would point to somebody else. I'm like, act like that. You don't act like that. And I was like, well, what does this mean? But I am Black, right? Because by virtue of being African American, I'm Black, right? No, that's not the case, at least not in my experience. I think those times in my life when I realize or when I know that I'm Black is really when I'm being compared to a stereotype of what African American behavior is, and maybe even being looked at under a different connotation of Blackness. When I look up, and I've done this before at different times in my life, you kind of look up the definition of like, what is Black? What does Black mean? And obviously it's going to be related to, African Americans and people with dark skin. But also if you keep looking and you look at the definition of Black, it says reflecting or transmitting little or no light. Another definition is thoroughly sinister or evil, or indicative of condemnation or discredit. And I think that's how I connect with that title of when did I know I was Black? I think it's when I feel that being an African American is or has the connotation of being Black, as defined by Webster in the ways that I just defined it, when I feel that someone's looking at me in that way, or someone refers to me as Black because they're thinking about those things, that's when I realize I'm Black. So again, I thought it was a really interesting title that Chris chose. Again, Chris Haley. And I thought it was worth mentioning and shouting him out. Again, there's a personal connection between me, his book, and his poetry. Personal connection as, again, Chris Haley, past guest of the podcast. But also, as we've told every guest that we've ever had, hey, we're all about supporting our community, giving back in any way that we can. And when you do something great, like distribute a book, even just, let's just say, write a book of poetry or otherwise, we're here to shout you out. So with that, I'll step back and step aside, if you will, and let Chris Haley, the author of the book, When Did I Know I Was Black, that is now available on Amazon, I'll let him go ahead and recite one of his poems for you.
Pinocchio. I'm angry and Black. You're racist and white. I'm tired of these memes, but if I may be bold, I'm sick also of your claiming Dr. King's dream as your bigot-free code. You would have hated him. And Jesus, too. He was poor and Middle Eastern, lest you forget. They both wanted the rich to give to the poor. You would have seated them side by side on a boat named Liberal Threat. Tell me that I'm lying. Tell me their positions are those you share. I'll stand here watching as your nostrils flare and your snout grows. The nose knows, Pinocchio.
And we're back. Papa Bear, can you?
Yes.
Ready.
Papa Bear, can you bring us some things we should know? I feel like we should. Let's get into some things we should know with Papa Bear. Sorry, there's a fly. There's a fly in my. There's a fly in my studio, and I'm like waving it off. I don't even realize I'm doing it. I'm on camera, like get out of here,
Chris, dude. I've been there. I had a fruit fly in here. I tried to do one of these. You're like, huh. Right, you just wave your finger at it. Like,
yeah, you're just like
trying to be all subtle.
I saw you. You were like,
yeah.
Every once in a while. Trying to blow it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. All right, PB.
Oh, yep. Sorry about
you're
that.
up at bat. Yeah, you're up at bat.
All right. Well, before we get to that,
No.
Yeah, I'd like to add in my pick for a female adventurer.
Okay, fine.
Jane Goodall.
Okay, Jane Goodall. That's an adventure. Gorillas in the Mist.
Because I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you're not doing
Put
that.
herself in great danger.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a very male-oriented world, doing what she did.
Yeah, male-dominated field.
Field. And she really had no formal training. But yet she's given us the most information we probably have about primates and chimps and gorillas. And
imagine patriarchy
I'm
that much where you just go to the damn jungle.
Bro, and I'm scared. Like, I'm already scared of gorillas. Now you're going to tell me that they're in the mist? Like, no. Not gonna do it.
Hey man, did you hear about that story with Mike Tyson when he was younger? I heard it because he just fought Jake Paul, where he was at a zoo and he saw exactly. He saw a gorilla bullying other gorillas at the zoo, and he tried to pay the zookeeper $20,000 to let him in and fight the gorilla so he could knock him out. And the zookeeper wouldn't let him do it. Wouldn't let him.
Of course not.
This is young Tyson.
Of course not. Because he thought he would kill that
his life.
He would have killed that gorilla, and it would have been no bueno, bro. Like, that's not a thing we do here at the zoo, bro. Like, you're not gonna let you fight this gorilla.
We only have so many gorillas.
Exactly. What you doing, bro? No.
Yeah, but imagine
Superman.
Yeah.
Right. But imagine having so much confidence in your strength and boxing ability that you just like, you know what? This gorilla's over here throwing dung at the other gorillas. I've had enough.
You know why?
Let me in the cage.
Because Mike Tyson said, "I am inevitable."
Yeah, that's
And
right,
it was
right.
true.
I thought he said yes.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Mike, I love you, bro. Dude, Mike, come on now, Mike.
You're the next one to get knocked
Dude,
out.
That's right.
I love Mike Tyson.
That's right. He's going to come on the podcast. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
PB, hit us with some
PB,
things we
All
should
right.
know.
That's right.
All right. So, Kaia, one thing we know about you is that you attended Antioch University there in Culver City, and their campus in Culver City, where you got a degree in both history and English literature. In writing your novel, you were mentored by writer Tom Robbins,
Yeah.
and then later you were mentored by comedian, actor Garry Shandling, also a writer. Now, as the founder and teacher for the Entertainment Business School, you yourself have mentored many of your own students. My question for you is, other than you, what other Antioch University alum was, like you, not only a teacher, but also a writer, and served as a mentor to many others? And who were two of their most notable mentees?
Wow.
Man, you come in to triple down. There's 3 questions in there.
That's a mouthful.
Do I get
Come
a
on.
clue?
So,
Did we get a
somebody
lifeline?
that went
Can we
to
get a lifeline?
somebody
Kaya's over here Googling like a mug, you know.
went to alum. Yeah, no, just putting on lipstick.
Yeah, look at he's looking. He's like, no, she's good. I can,
Papa
you can
Bear-
only see one
Kaya,
hand, bro. Look,
Papa Bear's
she
our
got-
researcher.
Yeah, no
One
Googling.
hand on the lipstick, one hand on the computer.
Papa
I
Bear's
know-
our
I know
researcher
what
too,
you-
so he's watching you like a hawk.
That's
He's
right.
he's researching what you're doing on your side
I
of the
didn't
screen.
think we had any famous Antioch alum, but so yeah, I actually.
PB, are these people famous? Would we actually have a chance to get this answer?
Well, this person is well known in Hollywood,
Mhm.
well known to actors. Yeah.
Okay, so we and then we have
That's
to
like everybody.
figure out. We have to figure
No,
out their
it's not happening, bro.
mentees.
No,
We have to
Chris,
figure out
I'm-
their
I'm-
mentees
no.
as well.
See,
2
Well,
of them.
mm-mm.
Well, one thing that makes this question difficult is
One
that
thing?
it's really it's kind of highly specific to Kaia
Yes.
and her interests.
Ooh.
Well, all I gotta say is like this is one of those. I've been there. You're in school, teacher comes out with the test, and you're going through, and you got, oh yeah, I know that. That's A. Oh, that's B. I'm gonna roll the dice on that one. That's C. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna roll the dice on that one, and then you get to that stuff that the teacher didn't teach you, and you be mad. You're like, man, you didn't teach me that. You just no. I'm not answering this. That's where I'm at, Chris.
Yeah.
I have no
I didn't
clue.
even get the
what this
study
answer
materials
is.
for this.
Exactly. You didn't give us. There was no pre-test. So, Chris, are you gonna try to guess on this? I'm not even guessing. I'm just being like, no. Sorry, you didn't teach me that.
No. Yeah, So no
No.
answer from Nick. I'm going to write that
No.
down. No.
Yeah, you can
answer
write it
from
down.
Nick.
Man, you can copy it. I don't care.
You're making me look stupid, Papa Bear.
You're making me- I'm with Kaia. I'm diving.
It's-
I'm taking a dive with you. Like it's whatever.
It's not intentional.
Yeah, just by accident. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Okay. Papa Bear, we're going to need some clues here. What year
Okay.
did this person graduate?
Oh,
Man, he
well, I'm
doesn't
not
even
sure,
know.
but I think it was.
All right. This whole things we should know is disqualified. Let's just move on.
I want the answer. This is interesting because look, I think this is good.
It was before 1948.
Oh, of course it
wow.
was.
Mhm.
Charlton Heston.
Exactly.
The answer is Charlton Heston, and his mentee was
Jesus.
no.
Here,
Ronald
Not
Ronald Reagan.
Not Catherine.
okay, here's some clues. Here's some clues.
The loons.
This person was raised on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. was a math prodigy at age 5.
Whoa.
Mm.
Jerry Stiller.
No clue,
I
man.
don't think I would be
Seriously.
laughing if it were the answer.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
We don't know,
no.
Papa Bear.
We
Tell us
have
the
no- we
answer.
have no
Tell us
clue,
the answer,
PB.
Papa Bear.
Okay,
And the mentees, right? Let's get the
Yeah,
first
guess
person.
the first person and the mentees. We have no idea.
let's find this out because it will be enlightening.
It'll be a thing we should know.
Kaia.
Yeah.
Mm.
This person was Garry Shandling's mentor, Roy London.
Wow.
Roy London? Oh, that's
Roy London.
Oh, that's a
I don't know.
thing Kaia should know.
I don't know
That's
a lot
awesome,
about Roy
PB.
It's
Roy's early life. You guys should all watch the Roy
Yeah.
London special, which I need to rewatch now. Thanks.
Is it just called the Roy London Special?
It's called Special Thanks to Roy London. So if you didn't know that, at the end of every episode of Garry Shandling's show, the Larry Sanders Show, it always said special thanks to Roy London. Roy London was a super famous acting coach in the 90s. He tragically passed of AIDS pretty young. And he, among his mentees, Sharon Stone, Brad Pitt, Garry Shandling, the list goes like on and on.
Sharon Stone, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they all really loved Roy. And Garry talked about Roy all the time in the years that I was working for him and Roy's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't know.
Well, here's the
Is Sharon
caveat.
Stone one of them, PB? Is that one of the mentors,
Yeah,
PB? Sharon
Sharon
Stone?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
Roy London went to Antioch College, which later got renamed as Antioch University.
The original, like,
But he went to the one. Yeah, he went to the one in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
in Ohio. That's the original.
So they have like 38 campuses, and one of them is in Culver City.
True fact
That
for
is-
you, I went to college pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, wonders never cease.
There you go.
I got to walk with my son in my arms to get my degree. So I, do
Look
things
at
out of
you.
order. Still make it happen.
She's inevitable,
Breaking
Nick.
barriers. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She's all the things. She's
Yeah.
all the things.
She's an adventurous woman.
That's right. That's right. I love
She's
it.
taking on. So PB,
Oh, I wish I
one
could
of them.
pivot to like my surfboard collection right here. I would be like showing off my boardroom. I love my surfboard.
I tried surfing, man. Not meant for me, man.
Didn't work out.
Nah.
Didn't work out for you.
But I do like
terrified.
long
I
strolls
love
on the
them trauma.
beach.
Mm.
I like to walk down the dock of the bay. I do like to do that. It's very meditative. I'm really good at beach
Don't
volleyball.
you like to sit on the docket?
Yeah, I like to sit on the dock of the bay.
Mm-hmm.
I like to play beach volleyball. I can do all that stuff. It's just when I tried to even wakeboard, but like just surf, no, man.
Didn't
Just
work out.
Didn't work out. So it's the second PB. The first one's Sharon Stone. The second mentee is who?
Brad Pitt.
Gary
Gary
Shandling.
No, Garry
So
Shandling.
it's Roy London. Okay, so
and Brad Pitt
Yep.
and Brad Pitt.
And
Brad
Brad Pitt.
okay, so for this audience, the answer is Roy London. Two mentees with a bonus of Brad Pitt is Sharon Stone, and of course Garry Shandling. Papa Bear, you did it again. That is absolutely a thing we should know, and we are going to be the bells of the ball if we ever go to a cocktail party and something like that comes up. No one has this information except for us and, of course, our esteemed audience. Congratulations.
That's right.
You did it again.
Well, it's the Antioch University connection.
There you go. The Antioch University connection.
That's cool. I learned
And
something today. I love it.
I partially grew up in a little town called Antioch.
Exactly what I was gonna say, Chris. Yep, that's it.
Grew up in, so a little Antioch connection here. Nick, you want to walk us into Filmmaker Q&A?
Oh, I can do that
Are you ready for this, Kai?
tonight.
He's about
You're
to
gonna
Voice. That's the
walk.
voice that I need at like 12 at night when I have insomnia. I need it in my ears, Nick. You don't understand. You're so calming and soothing. It's the best.
I'm here
FM
for
radio,
all
DJ
day.
voice.
That's right.
Very.
Yep. FM radio, the quiet storm. All right. So
It's
we're gonna
raining
get into
tonight.
that's right. a little filmmaker Q&A.
out.
Man, now you got some like little fake horror, indie horror movie thing going on right now.
Come on, Kyle. Snuggle in. Radio, tune up. Wherever the quiet storm.
Is it? You're creeping.
Well, In all fairness, Nick, you should give her your polar opposite voice.
No,
See, no, if I know, we're just
it'll
gonna have to
it'll
point
ruin it
her.
for Kai.
Exactly, we have to point her to the episode. So, all right, so filmmaker Q&A. So the first question, because you've talked about advantages earlier, and I've heard you speak about advantages. So my question is, what advantages should a filmmaker bring to the table?
Your wolf pack, number one. If you have a film school degree, number two. Any real world experience. And I mean, like, maybe you crewed on a boat and went around the Aegean. That could end up being an advantage where you're bringing this real life experience as a writer to a writer's room, for instance. If you want to be a director, you're aspiring director, you want to get that time shadowing and learning all that you can from those who've gone before. And the advantage like that Chris has of being super curious. Chris is curious. You guys all know this about him. He's so curious. He's a great observer and he's interested in what's happening. And that advantage of being curious, do not underestimate it. Everybody's looking for it. Who is hungry? Who is curious? Who's going to show up and give their all? Another overlooked advantage, if you are always early to every meeting, you're 5 minutes early, you're an hour early, you're there, you're early, you're ready, you're on time, you're ready to go. This is an industry where the product is our creativity and it's expensive in a lot of cases, right? It's sometimes many millions of dollars, and those millions of dollars are on the line. So when you are showing up and bringing your best self, people notice and they're like, "Ooh, I need you on my next set. I want to work with you again." And that becomes really your ace in hand, bringing your best self. I talk about it having an attitude of awesomeness because you're bringing the joy, you're bringing the passion, you're bringing the excellence to the table, and everybody goes, "Ooh, I want to work with you." That is undeniable and powerful. And then your, real world experience. You might just be like a dog trainer, and that's like your passion, your hobby. Having those things outside of Hollywood can end up being career advantages because at the end of the day, this is a social business, and we do business with people we like, who we want to hang out with. The way I phrase it for my students is, this is a business of who do you want on your boat? Right? You're going to go on the yacht at Cannes or whatever. It's like, who do I want on my boat? And so are you, bringing your best self? Like, you're funny, you're awesome, you're playful, you're, even if you're more quiet, can you bring some piece of yourself to the fore that makes us just go, "Oh, I want to hang out with you more." And that is really helpful. It's really helpful. Like those advantages of your real life experience, your network, your friend group, your curiosity. It might be the family advantages. So I talk about hidden advantages, and then the hidden advantages no one can see. Maybe your family is like funding your life for a little while, so you can do those internships and things that give you opportunities and a leg up. And others wouldn't necessarily know that you have that family support. For so many white folk like me, that generational wealth kicks in, and it's like, yeah, we'll float you for a year or two so you can get your bearings in the film industry. That is the difference between sinking and swimming for so many people in this business. So those hidden advantages. Another one, can you function on 4 hours of sleep night after night, day after day? Because anybody who can, yes, anybody who can is going to have an advantage in this industry. So there's like those hidden advantages. And then there's those advantages that everybody can see. Are you a Nepo baby? Are your parents famous? Are you Maya Hawke? Okay, well, you have a significant advantage, right, in the business. So it's like you have a toolkit. You have an empty toolkit when you are getting into this business. Like, load it with all the tools. Keep putting the tools in it. Study with me in the Entertainment Business School. Study with the folks at Roadmap Writers if you're a writer, and work on your voice and, getting your reps, your ideal manager in hand. And becoming a really good judge of character is another advantage. Like, you want to know to avoid the narcissists and the sociopaths and the grifters that are out there in this business. You've got to become a really great judge of character. So that might mean the advantage of studying psychology or learning about that those red flags are, that will make you a significant advantage to anyone on your team as well, who's like, oh yeah, we shouldn't work with that person. That will help you too. So, the list is long. The way I phrase it in my school and the way that it came to me, because I think in pictures, was I was watching Fleabag. I actually have the poster right there.
Love
I was watching
Fleabag.
Fleabag in the pandemic. I love Fleabag. I love me some Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She's
Shout out to Phoebe
so
Waller-Bridge. So talented.
Shout out. She's a badass adventurous woman. I love her. She's so smart. She's so funny. She's so brilliant. She's such a talented actress. And
Yes.
I had never heard of her. So I was like, oh, I know she's English, but like, I've never heard of her. Like, I wonder what she's done. And I'm learning about her. And then as I learn about her, I'm like, oh, she's a RADA grad. So, Royal Academy Drama Arts, London, it's like impossible to get into. I think there are endless number of famous English actors that have come out of RADA. You get into RADA, you have black Amex card practically in this business coming from the UK, right? You're like, I can just ka-ching on that all day, because you have been proven to be the 0.001% of talent that gets admitted to that school. It was very hard to get in. The name I was looking for was Sir Laurence Olivier, right? So going all the way back in time, their alumni are incredible. So thinking about your career strategically is imperative, because that's what's baked into your question of like, what are those advantages? Well, think strategically. Okay, how can I check more boxes and go after more advantages for myself so that I have more to bring to the table? This is a highly competitive business. So the more you're thinking about it and being in your competitive, but like joyful, aggressive energy, I like to call it, like you're, ready to tussle, you're going to stand out. And we always would say when I was an exec, like, we're going to give the job to whoever's better in the room. So for a lot of folks, that means like you might need to go get the advantage of being in Toastmasters. You might need to get better at talking to people and forcing yourself out of your comfort zone so that you can just like walk into a party. I'm always telling my students, I'm like, what's your party strategy? You need one. You're going to go to a party. What's your strategy? Most people are like, I just go to the drinks and hide in the corners. Like, no, you gotta find a way to talk to people. Like we talked about, because I have my podcast too. I love to ask people what they're the most passionate about. What are you the most passionate about? It's such a better question than what do you do? So even coming armed with good questions is an advantage, because then people are like, oh, I love that question. Let's talk more. Come to my office. Let's have a long
high impact questions. Yeah.
That's right. And that's great, because, we recently talked about just kind of aggregating your advantages. And one of the things that I love about what you just said, I mean, of course, there was so much that you said that I love, but one of the things that I keyed in on is this idea of checking the boxes and giving yourself as many boxes to check as possible. Because I would think what filmmakers tend to do is they tend to present with a single box. And that single box is the piece of art that they're trying to pitch, whether it's their film, their screenplay, their script, whatever. That's the single box that they think is going to get them in the door. It's the box they think is going to get them funded, financed, distributed. And you're explaining to them from your experience, you have to have many boxes checked, not just one. So I love that idea of having all of these advantages. All right. So question number 2, if you're ready for it.
I was going to say, though, you only get a single box if you're a Navy SEAL. Then you get a single box.
There you go. Right. Yeah. Check. Right. Yeah. All right. So the second one is this. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you have been a development executive. Okay. So this kind of goes along with the first question, but so first is, what is a development executive and what are they looking for?
So development execs are your buyers. They're the ones who can greenlight your movie or your TV show. They might be inside a production company. Sterling K. Brown has one person working with him. It's his development exec. She's doing a lot of reading. She's figuring out what projects are good for him and ultimately advising him on like, I think we should do this one. So the buyers, the tastemakers, the ones who are able to say pass on that project or yes, we're going to go ahead and green light your show. And in in television, you can get a yes in the room. You could get your show bought in the room off of your pitch. That can really happen. It happened so I was on features, right? So in Inferno, we were just financing features. We had a $40 million hedge fund that had to be spent. So in a year, we had to be investing in financing and co-financing movies, and we worked with New Line. So I'm reading a lot of scripts. I'm taking pitch meetings with various teams, and I'm answering a friggin' too many emails, agents emailing us. And those emails, by the way, a little intel, they are like 3 sentences long. Emails in this business are super short. If you are sending long ass novel emails, we're like, oh, you're not a pro. And we will next you because we know you don't know how this industry works. Because on any given day, I got 300 emails in my inbox, plus I'm reading 5 scripts, plus I had 2 pitch meetings. I was working 80-hour weeks. So those emails that come through, fielding knows, like, oh, we've got, Ryan Reynolds attached, with Amy Smart to Just Friends. So great. Okay, I'm going to take a look at that script. And then I'm in a meeting with my boss to advise, like, should we do it? What are our notes? Yes, we're going to greenlight it, how to move forward. So you're a tastemaker, you're a decision maker. You get to pull the trigger on the financing. Depending on how big that team is and who has the decision maker power, you might not have final decision maker power. You might be then going to lunch with your bosses who have that decision power, or you may be in a power seat wherein you can greenlight those projects. Is that helpful? Does that make sense?
Nice. Yeah, it does.
That's great.
And
You gave another, I was going to say, you gave another tool for the toolbox, and that's short emails.
Yeah. Check the box.
Short emails. Super short. Short and sweet.
Yep. Okay, nice. And then from that perspective, what are they looking for? Like, they're going to get you, like you said, short emails is one, but once you get past that stage, what are they looking for in that either mini pitch, long pitch? What are they looking for?
Well, I tell my students this: you want to sweeten the package. So this is, if you want to just have an amazing concept idea and you can go write a novel, that's great. But in Hollywood, in our business, we're looking for the entire package. And that's what we're really looking for. So we're looking for the great idea, the high concept, the passionate filmmaker team behind it who, are bringing something fresh and interesting and different to the fore that we fall in love with. It's like going on a million dates and you're like, I kind of want to fall in love. And then when you find that person, that feeling, that project, you're like, oh, I love it at a 10. That is what we were looking for, is that like, oh my gosh, the belle of the ball just came down the stairs with the pearls in the dress and love. Like, that's that feeling that we're looking for. So I used to call it my red dress feeling. So when I fall in love with a red dress, that one, it's like that feeling in my body, in my bones. And it becomes a hunch. It becomes an instinct also. And then of course we're looking for, is there already financing in place? Who is attached? Who's the director, who's the cast. And I like to say attachments are ephemeral. They're like rainbows. They're there, but also they can disappear. So attachments can change. We financed a movie called We're the Millers that started off having Sienna Miller attached, and it went through a number of actresses before Jennifer Aniston finally starred in it.
Very funny
so
movie.
There's this understanding of like shifting around schedules that the agents are doing for their clients and managers are doing for their clients, of like, okay, well, they're committed, during that window. So now you're going to have to get somebody else. And that happens. So we're looking for the sweetened package. We're looking also, of course, now it's all over town that it's practically, I can't believe that this has become just so degraded, but it used to be IP meant books. So we're looking for the IP, the life story or the book that this is built on. Why? Because Hollywood doesn't trust itself. And we want to see, oh, there was a book that was a bestseller. Oh, we trust that. We'll bring that across and invest in that, our millions of dollars to like put, erect that picture. So the IP, but now, anything is IP. I'm amazed that there are execs who are like optioning Reddit threads as IP. that
Wow.
blows my mind. I'm like, what world is this? So there's so many different universes that are IP. So video games and books and articles and now Reddit threads and short stories. So there's a lot of places to be like, okay, if you're a filmmaker, you want to like really go after those bigger budgets. You need to be thinking, yes, about the story that you absolutely love, but you want to be sweetening that package and bringing in elements that make an executive that much more excited to greenlight your project instead of others. I would get stuck sometimes loving a project at like, I'm going to go on a scale from 1 to 10, loving a project at a 9, but we're like kind of on hold with it because we're really looking for the project we love at a 10. So you can end up in that limbo, it's like, we love it. Oh, but like not enough to marry it, so not enough to put a ring on it. So there's that, like, whatever's going to push it to, we love it at a 10 or an 11, right? Then that's really what we're looking for. And for a lot of us, it becomes hunch and instinct. My boss early on, before I'd even read the script for Just Friends, was like, I think this Ryan Reynolds guy could be like a real movie star. Like, I'm not even gay, and I kind of think he's hot.
Right.
Oh gosh, what a
hunch.
great hunch that turned out to be.
Yeah. I felt the same way when I first watched it. I know we mentioned it already in the cast, but when I first watched Van and Water, I was like, that's the first thing I ever saw Ryan Reynolds in. That's why I bring it up. And I was like, this guy's just, if this guy wasn't in the movie might be terrible. Like he is carrying this whole thing off, and the power that takes as a performer to do that is remarkable. So shout out to Ryan Reynolds. Nick,
shout out
give
to
us
Ryan.
the next
that
one.
becomes generational too, because my son found him in Free Guy and ended up just falling for him in Free Guy. And we'll go see any of his movies. Oh, he's in Deadpool. Oh yeah, it's like that love. That love with that actor.
That's awesome. All right, Chris, like you said, I'm going to roll into number 3 here because she's just knocking them out the park. It's like she's done this before. Like she could be a teacher or a coach. That could be a thing. I don't know. All right. So exactly. So number 3. So how do you bridge the gap between being a creative and being a working professional?
The challenge that every creative has is the belief in yourself when you're not yet getting paid to do this job. So that faith walk of like, it's like the imposter syndrome of like, I really want it, but am I good enough? And, the fear of it. And Garry used to say, it's all about the work. So when you really fall in love with the work, that's your best path to being that working professional, because you're in it for the right reasons. There's so many kids now where you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, famous. You're like, that's not
or
a job.
YouTuber.
No. So like your reason for, your love, I love crafting a sentence. I love writing sentences and books and chapters, and like I get so excited by a glossary. Like I love books. I love screenplays. Like I got them all over my office. That, deep love and passion you have for your creative drive, and then bringing your business acumen to the fore is really important, because what you don't know about the business can cost you deals. It can blow stuff. Getting your emotions in check is really huge. Maybe you need to be in therapy, because I've seen creatives blow up on someone and like they're never going to work again because they have not behaved in a professional manner. And nobody, even though the industry's full of divas, nobody wants to work with a diva. I mean, if you're Kevin Hart and you're making many, many millions of dollars, then we're like, oh, we'll put up with a little Las Vegas divahood. Okay. But we really want to work with the folks who are making us look good. It's a very reputational business. So you also need to come in understanding, as a working professional, your job is to make everybody else who's working with you look good. Make your showrunner look good. Make the executive who greenlit you look good. You never talk trash ever on the record anywhere. I don't care if it's your DMs, never in an email, never. You just do not speak ill of people. You just can't. I mean, maybe you tell this is so many people I know who are successful in this business are married. Like, okay, maybe your spouse is who you share that truth with at the end of the day, but you
Yeah.
do not want to burn your bridges. So behaving professionally and respectably and respecting others, and then knowing enough about the business side, knowing that you need to build a brand, not just sell a show or finance your movie. You're building a brand. That's who we want to work with, because you will end up becoming a brand name. We are in the brand name business. It's Shonda Rhimes, it's Oprah, it's Ryan Murphy, it's Taika Waititi. These are the names. They are brands. We trust them across the board on multiple projects because they are brands and they are thinking of themselves like brands. I don't want to give any shade to Kevin Hart because I love him so much. And he is a brand and he knows it.
He is.
And
He's
he
definitely
shows
a
up.
brand. Yeah.
He works so hard. He's like the hardest working person in showbiz. He kills it. And he's showing up dedicated every day to his team, his projects, his touring schedule, keeping his energy going. Like, that level of dedication is really huge. Being good at pitching, being good at networking, at building your community is super key. Understanding enough about the business and like the financing elements to be dangerous, so that if you're in that room and you're like, I don't know about that number, like you're backing that up with something that is coming from some kind of experience. So many of my students want to become showrunners. And I'm like, you ever seen a budget before? Because you're going to have a lot of conversations with executives, and you're going to have to figure out that you got to get rid of that helicopter scene because they just said you lost 20,000 in your budget, and you're going to run home and rewrite that overnight. And so understanding what it means when an exec says, I'm pulling 20,000 out of your budget, you have to mentally calculate what that does to your show and the scenes and how to tell the story now in a new way. So you've got to know the business side. You've got to know how to negotiate for yourself. Attorneys love to charge by the hour, right?
That's right. And a lot.
By the hour. And it's like, if you don't know how to negotiate, every attorney in town will salivate and be like, I'll do it for you. And you're going to pay 10 times more having your attorney do all your preemptive negotiation. But this business was built on like term sheets, and memorandums of understanding is another way of that, the MOU. It's the same thing. So like, you've got to negotiate for yourself and for your project, often, especially in the indie space, so that you are putting together a term sheet that then goes to the attorney. That's their bullet notes on their like cliff notes on how here's what's going to be in the contract. So you have to have that comprehension of going, and this was me, you guys. So if I could learn how to negotiate, anybody could learn how to negotiate, because I was truly, truly terrified. I was like, what? Business, no. I was like, crash and burn. But I was like, I'm gonna like take classes from Chris Voss and read his book, Never Split the Difference, and practice it all the time. Great book, and I teach my son, he's 12. We go into shops and he wants to go to Supreme and he wants to put all the clothes down that he wants to buy. And I'm like, well, what do you say? And he's like, what's the Atticus discount? And they go, what? Who's Atticus? He's like, I'm Atticus. What's my discount? And they've given 10% off before. So like, if you just learn how to ask and how to be playful in negotiations, you're going to be 10 miles ahead of your competition and the others who are chasing you. So again, like we talked about, putting those tools in the toolkit, building up your advantages, being unafraid of the business side. And like you said earlier, Chris, being willing to ask those questions. It's totally okay to not know and be like, gosh, I don't know. What does that mean? What's your job? Like holding that stick. What does that do? And just being willing to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said being willing to talk. Not bothering them in their jobs, like you said, but also, building up your total understanding of how the business side of this business works, because it is a business. And if you aren't interested or willing to like throw yourself in the deep end with those skill sets, then like go be a novelist. Go work in the garret by yourself and like pull out your quill and go for it, or your keyboard or whatever. And you'd be like, go do that creative thing and dream up your worlds that, in our business, every scene is money. Right.
Yep. And I was just going to say that I was connecting a financier with a a female. They had requested a female documentary director of color. So female of color was like the requirement for it. And I was connecting someone I thought of with this financier, and she was asking me, all right, so I've never really done this before. I've done all these other things. This is where I want to go with my career. This is where I'm headed. I've done all these other things in film and in documentary space and in these sort of adjacent areas, but I've never really done this job. What should I do to lock this down? It's like, be transparent. Like, walk in there and say, this is where I see my career going. I think I have really good taste. I know I can handle it. I haven't done this before, but here's what I offer. Here's what I have to offer. Here's my resume. And just because you don't want to be fake and then get called out on that later.
That's
when
right.
you run into trouble. Because if you tell that lie up front, or you sort of tell a sort of a smaller, so you hyperbole, you exaggerate a little bit. Then when you get into a jam, your producers and that financier is looking at you like, well, don't you know what to do already? You told me and it's like, no. Now people want to help you because they know, okay, she's on this journey. She's going to do it and we're going to help her do it. That's all.
Yep. That's perfect advice. I love that.
Yeah, yep. That's great, man. All right, for the last one.
The last one.
So we had talked about the fact that, Kaia is an educator and she's a coach, but I'm curious.
She's a polyglot. She's a hyphenate. She's all these things.
Yeah. She's all the things.
Yeah.
So what is a career coach?
She's a Renaissance
woman. Right, there you go. No. So yeah, what is a career coach and why do filmmakers need one?
Great question. Perfect example this morning. One of my clients, new client, haven't worked with him before, writer, producer, who is setting up his first movie. He's done a bunch of shorts and now he's doing a feature. And he is actively pitching investors. And he was like, I need to know, are my pitch materials in order? Is my deck good? What do I need to change? Is this log line up to par? And then he wanted coaching on his pitching. And we worked on his pitch. We drilled it. He was practicing different elements of it. I gave him suggestions and ideas of where to turn the conversation so that the execs would be like really salivating by the end of his pitch. And, he did a great job. So sometimes filmmakers come to me and they just need like a one-off session and they're like, I'm good. I got my marching orders. I'm good to go. And then there are others who are, in active negotiations who like need me as a touchstone and come back repeatedly. Like, oh, they said this, what do I do about that? And then we're doing a couple of sessions together to work on that. On those business sides. But for the most part, the filmmakers are tapping me because I was a development exec, because I'm bringing the buyer perspective and eyeballs to them and saying, here's how you get up to par. Here's where your project can be better. Here's how we can get you to where you want to be. And like, it's hard. I like to say nobody can see the color of the car they're driving. So you're like, well, am I there? Do I have it? Yeah. And a lot of us don't know. So if you work with a coach, I mean, look, there's not an Olympic athlete on the field that isn't working with a coach. And you talk to those who have made it at the highest levels of this business, they employ a lot of people. They employ a lot of people and they're like, they know they need coaches. I've worked with multiple celebrities. I've worked with Garry, with Jamie Lee Curtis, with Ashley Judd. They're looking for who is going to help me be my best. And they want to work with the person who's bringing that out. If you are insecure and guarded and you feel like, oh, I have to have it all together, like you said, one of the things you won't do is be vulnerable enough to go, I could get better. Who out there is going to make me better? And you go find and figure out who that person is going to make you your best self, your champion self, so that you can go out there and crush it. And that often does take somebody in your corner coaching you to get there. I don't know that many people, myself included, who are that good self-coached. Chris, I learned to surf terrified of the ocean. And in ankle deep water, I hired a coach, and he was like, I'm going to build up your confidence. And he started me on a giant 11-foot board in ankle deep water. And gradually over years, the board got smaller and the waves got bigger. And suddenly, I'm out there with the boys. I'm out there like, I'm in overhead surf, dropping in on them like, But it's like that took 8 years to get there. And that took regular coaching. I met my coach every Friday morning. I was working with someone who's like, I'm going to make you better. And sometimes he would yell at me and break me down. And I hated that, but he was right.
Yeah.
And then that like made me better, and then when I won his pride, he was like, you killed it today. Like, I was like, oh, I killed it today. And you know what, when you do that, you can go into any meeting, like with any exec or producer or somebody and be like, I'm ready to go. Because somebody's got you and is like, you got this. And then you're like, they're telling me I got this. And you draw from their strength for your career. And people admire that when you're also able to say, like, my coach said, my therapist said, like, I'm bringing my full self to this. We feel it. People hold back all the time, whether you're dating or, you're experimenting with different projects that you're working on. If you're holding back, everybody feels it. That's what I guarantee. So you have got to figure out how to bring your best self to the fore. And a lot of us, myself included, cannot figure that out on our own.
I'm really glad you said that, because I think the crux of it all is confidence. And I've mentioned this before, but I really want to write a book on confidence, because it's something that we all know we need. We all understand it, but we have no idea how to get it, how to cultivate it. We don't know how to wield it if we don't have it at hand, how to develop it. It's nebulous in it, right? Like, what is this difference between confidence and bravado, confidence and machismo, arrogance, whatever? Why do people have low confidence in a situation? Why do people just seem to have been born with an enormous amount of confidence? And so there's a lot we just don't know about the human brain. And I always go back to Yuval Noah Harari saying that we've done 100,000 MRIs on the brain and we still can't find the conscious or subconscious. We know we talk about it like it's in our brain, but we can't find it. And I think of confidence that way. And I've never met an executive that didn't have a coach. Every great executive I know has a coach. You mentioned Olympic athletes have a coach. Everyone that's ever achieved anything great has a coach. And yet we sort of look at life coaches, entertainment coaches, certain type of coaching, and we think, well, what's that all about? So I think the way you put it was perfect, because if everyone in your world that you admire at one point or another had some coaching, then if you want to be there, you should do likewise. That's all.
I love that. I'm so excited for your book. That's fantastic.
I don't know. I got another book ahead of that one in my head. In my head, I have another book ahead of that. But I just think there's not a book. There's a few books out there by like economic psychologists, like the Daniel, who's that Papa Bear? Nobel Prize winner, Nick. Daniel, he's famous. He's like the most famous guy at PB. Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman.
There's a lot of famous.
It's Daniel Kahneman. He wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, I believe, is one of it. But
yes.
he co-wrote and written, I think, a lot of stuff. So anyway, there's that. But that's really deep reading. That's like 17 word sentences, collegiate level sort of deep stuff. And I want to write one that's a little bit more palatable if I were to do it. But that being said, Nick, thank you for Filmmaker Q&A, and Kaia, thank you so much for your in-depth answers. I think the audience is really going to benefit from those answers, and just dropping the education on them like that and the inspiration at the same time. We couldn't ask for anything more than that. You've been incredibly generous with your time. But before you go, we must ask you, what does it mean for you to make it?
I like to say my success metric is a well-attended funeral.
Yep.
Amen.
It's for me, it's all about touching lives. That's where I know I've made it, is when I've touched the most lives possible. I want to reach millions of people with my books and with my work. That is my joy. That's me making it. I think everybody has their own definition of making it. For me, it's not a million people watched my show. And I saw, I've been around others for whom that they made it and then went, why didn't that make me happy? So the joy for me in that making it is how many lives have I supported and touched and transformed and changed. I mean, that's how I measure it. What about you guys? You've asked this question of so many filmmakers. What are your favorite answers?
Well, first of all, I love that answer. And second of all, if you want to have a great funeral, get a black best friend. Black funerals never end. Black funerals never end. They're good. It's going to be packed, and no one's ever leaving. You're going to have like the greatest songs. Yeah, got to get get a black best friend, and then you'll have a perfect funeral. But I think some of our answers are some of the best answers we got. I mean, I thought your answer was really fantastic because it came with a quotable, right? I think that's really great. But I think in general, people who are in it for the work, those answers have been really great, and they align with me pretty well, where it's like, just make it about the journey of the creative, so that at the end of the day, you can at least say that you figured out how to reach a professional benchmark and you made something that meant something to you. It's really a powerful thing. I have a friend, shout out to Susan and Heido Prado, that I've known them for a long time. I knew they were artists, but I'd never gone to their studio. They asked me to go to their studio recently, and I just had never gone. It's been years. I walk into their studio and I was reintroduced to them again, because what was revealed in the studio was a lifetime, and I mean a lifetime, of work. Sculptures, paintings, sketches, drawings in a 2,000 foot art studio, canvases small and large, every type of art that you could conceive. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's what making it is. So they're quietly just doing this work, and they have thousands of pieces in the studio that are going to outlive them, and they're all excellent. So Nick, you got anything?
Yeah, so I'll answer both questions. So the first one is, some of the responses we've heard to this question. And I love it when people say the simplest answer, which is making a living doing what I love. There's something in that that's really telling. And I always focus on it when they say this, because none of them say be great. None of them say be notable. It's just doing what they love.
Yep.
Right. There's no, I guess you could say, model of excellence. There's no model that they're trying to achieve out there than doing what they love. So with that, I think about, for me, like, was my answer? And my answer is always having the means to live up to my name. So my name is Nicholas. And as I've said on this podcast before, and I tell people often, that my name means victory of the people. So making it for me is always having the means to be there and be in service to other people.
Yep.
If I have that, that's all I need.
My name means God. My name is short for Christ. And don't you forget it, Nick.
That's why every time somebody talks to you, they're like, Jesus.
That's exactly right. Don't you forget it either, Sam.
Yeah. But that's what I gotta say. So yeah, and I'll say that I often say too that, when my parents named me this, it is both a blessing and a curse, right? It is my blessing to give. It is my curse to give, because if I have it, my goal is to give it away in some capacity. And what's interesting, Kaia, is that you said a well-attended funeral. And sadly, I've attended several over the past several weeks.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I think to myself, I'm not so sure that mine will be that well attended, but I'm not concerned about that. And the reason I'm not concerned is because the giving goes beyond those who know who I am. So, and I'll just give you an example. And my kids like McFlurries from McDonald's.
Yep.
So from time to time,
so they're normal.
right. So from time to time, I go to McDonald's and I get the McFlurries. And the people there are amazing. The people who, they're at the cashier, they're working in there. I just love those people. I do. So several times a year, whether on occasion like Valentine's Day or Christmas or other occasions throughout the year, I'll sneak up on them.
You'll sneak up on them.
Listen, I'll sneak up on them because normally I go through the drive-through.
Gotta be careful as a black man sneaking up on people in America.
Listen, I'll go inside with several bouquets of flowers, and I will give them flowers. They don't know my name. They don't know where I live. They will not be at my funeral. But I was fortunate enough to have the means to live up to my name. And on that day, who knows? They could have had a bad day. They could have had a great day. But they got something from someone that they don't know that might have blessed them on that day. So I often think about that. A lot of the good that I attempt to do is actually for people who don't even know me. So
just complete strangers, paying it forward.
Yep.
Well, tell me, Nick, which McDonald's is that? that the ice cream machine is working?
Well,
because we may all want to go there.
We need to know where this is at.
Bro, you know why the ice cream is working?
And the customer service is great?
Because the flowers you bring.
Boom.
I guess so. I think that's a great idea. I think too, like just surprising people at Starbucks with, hey, I'll pay for that. I mean, it's such a simple.
I always do it. If I'm in a grocery store, it doesn't matter where I am. This is what I try to do. I mean, honestly, I'll be at the grocery store. I'll see someone come up behind me. They've got a few things. I just tell the cashier, I've got that.
Yeah.
I love that.
You never know where a person is in their situation, especially when they're only buying a few things. Yeah, so that's right. If I can take care of it again, but that's the thing. That's what making it is for me, is that I have to have the means. That's the thing. If I can have the means to do that, I've made it.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic answer. And one of the pieces of advice I gave Nick early on when he was doing this is like, hey man, just take off the hoodie and the mask. Like there's no reason to be wearing that when you're doing that. I think it'll be received a lot better if you're not wearing all black and you don't have, I know it's cold in Maryland where he's at, but to have the thing covering his whole face, a ski mask on, it's just
Chris,
not a good look. It's not a good look.
Excuse me. Would you like to have a bouquet of flowers? Because I can give it to you if you want it. No worries. Want nothing in return except for your obedience.
Does the fire rise?
Yes, Mr. Wayne.
There you go. The fire rises. I love it. That's Nick's bane. Feel free to leave a comment and judge that as you will. Kaia, can you tell us where we can find you on social media, where everyone in this audience can reach out to you, sign up for your courses and your school, which is so valuable to up-and-coming filmmakers? And if you are brave enough, where they can reach out to you, maybe even directly to ask questions after this episode.
Yes, absolutely. I just first have to say I'm so envious because you set the name bar so high. My name means chicken. What the hell?
But listen, you have such a powerful last name,
Alexander,
that it balances itself out. You know, yes.
Also my son's
from now on, Kaia, I will call you Lady Alexander.
There we go.
There you go. Yes.
Straight out of Gladiator too. There we go.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I'm easy to find. I until very recently was on Twitter all the time, and I'm still like dipping a toe in from time to time. My handle there is This Is Kaia. If you want to be in touch with me more frequently on socials, I am on Instagram at Kaia Alexander Surfs. I am also on Blue Sky at Kaia Alexander. Facebook is a dumpster fire. Don't friend me on Facebook. You'll like never hear back from me. But you can also email me. I love to chat with people. Don't send me a long email, but you can email me at kaiaalexander.com. And that comes straight to me. And I love filmmaker questions. I love to support our community. It makes me happy and gives me purpose. So those are the places where you can find and follow me. The Entertainment Business School is also really easy to find. entertainmentbusinessschool.com, just like it sounds. I announce there when our next sessions are happening, what classes are going on. We're making some changes right now to the school to make it more accessible and affordable to filmmakers,
cool.
which feels like right now in Hollywood, it really needs to happen because of the downturn of work. So I'm really wanting to support where people are at in their journeys. So you can find me again at entertainmentbusinessschool.com.
Love it.
Did I
So
cover
folks,
everything?
you heard
Is
it
that
here. You did. Entertainmentbusinessschool.com. Go out, find her, sign up. There's only 2 cohorts a year, correct, Kaia? Right
Yes,
now?
there has been up until now only 2 cohorts a year of the live program, but we're looking at making some of it evergreen so that we have people in all different time zones as well who are like, I can't do 5 o'clock Pacific. That's 3 a.m. my time in, Australia or the
Great.
UK
Yeah.
or wherever. So I've also realized that it's really crucial to dispense this knowledge more globally. Film is the most popular global language that we have. So the live cohorts has been great. I'm in Pacific time, I'm in California, and it's awesome for like those of us in, Canada and Mexico and the US. But I've also realized we want to be able to reach the broader film community of whom, are here on YouTube and other places looking for this kind of knowledge. So yeah, stay tuned for those shifts and changes with the school. Keep checking back with me with the website, and I'll be making those announcements soon, depending on like when this airs. It might have already come out. So just be in touch.
Here. And if you want to find us, well, guess what? You're already listening on Apple and Spotify, or you're already watching on
Like
YouTube.
and subscribe, guys.
Boom. Do as Kaia said there. She's very, very wise. So
That
like
she
and
is.
subscribe, rate and review on Apple and Spotify. If you like what we're doing, you like the work we're putting out, like Nick said earlier, yes, we want to entertain, but we also want to educate. We want to inspire. So hold our feet to the fire. If we're not doing that, let us know and we'll do better. Give us suggestions. Drop us a line in the comments. Send us a DM. You can find us on social media at _MakeItPodcast on X, Instagram, and on TikTok. So we're in all those places. We respond to 100% of these comments. You can leave us a comment on our community page on YouTube. We answer 100% of those. And of course, on this video as well. We have buttery soft t-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, and even like racer tanks for the ladies at cottonbureau.com. So go to cottonbureau.com, search for the Make It Podcast, and our page will come right up. And we'll be shifting things around that store over the year, I would say. But right now, we have all of our cities collections there. So really clean design. Cotton Bureau rejects 90% of designs, as I always say, but ours is in there. Cottonbureau.com. Search for the Make It Podcast. Pick yourself up a tee. Wear your filmmaking journey. Great hats, t-shirts, hoodies, crew neck sweaters, and more at cottonbureau.com. We also have a newsletter. You can subscribe to that at bonsai.film. So bonsai.film/subscribe. The newsletter comes out every 2 weeks, and you will be an insider and one of our bonsai creatives and insiders. If you do sign up for that, it's totally free, and you just put your email in and you'll get the very next one. I think I have, contact for me and you. If you want to reach out to Nick and, ask him all about his name, if you want to ask him more about his Bane impression, if you want to sort of critique it, if you want him to record a voicemail for you, or if you want him to record like a note that you can go to sleep to at night, as Kaia alluded to, you can do that. You can make all these requests at nick@bonsai.film. Yes, that's an email, nick@bonsai.film. And if you want to find me, I am at Flame in Your Heart or Chris Barkley on X. And I just started my first Blue Sky account. So you can just find me there at Chris Barkley. And you can just search for Chris Barkley on Blue Sky if you're on Blue Sky as well. And with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Of course. But first, thank you, Kaia Chicken Alexander. Thank you so much for this. This has been amazing. I know that you had told me that you were looking forward to it, but I think I was probably looking forward to it even more. I had watched some of the things that you had done and just was enamored with your delivery. I think that you are obviously a teacher. You are obviously a coach. The way that you speak, not just from your head, but from your heart, is empowering and it's impactful. And I am hopeful that our audience just gets so much of that during this conversation. And when they watch us, when they listen to us, that they do reach out to you, because you're absolutely right. People need coaches. They need people in their wolf pack that are on their side, that can speak truth when they are blind by their own lack of confidence. But the truth is that we all have something within us. We all have these advantages around us, and we just need to recognize them. So the fact that you are lifting the veil from the blind and taking them somewhere that they know in their hearts that they want, to me is amazing. And I am eternally grateful for you just taking the time to be with us today.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible acknowledgement. Thank you so much. You gave me an idea, which is that since you are so acknowledging and appreciative, and I appreciate your audience, if anybody from your audience wants to work with me as a coach, I'll give them half off their first session. So you get 50% discount.
Look at that.
Yeah, first
Let's
session.
go, guys.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Let's
I
go,
love your
Kaia.
audience. I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. This was just a delight and a pleasure. I've enjoyed chatting with you and getting to know you. And I want updates on books and the film production company fund that you're working on. All of it. I really want to know.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, we appreciate you. So with that, I have to say to our friends, our family, our fans, our fellow filmmakers out there, our followers, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, Kaia, talk to you soon.
Yep, we'll have to do it again.
Love you, PB. Love you, Sam.
Love you back.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Peace.